Okay, this is a short tutorial on worksheet 111, Anatomy of a Linear Equation. So this is the standard format of a linear equation. Y equals mx plus c. Okay, so y is also known as function of x. Okay, so whenever you see this function of x, that's y. Okay, it's the same. Now, m represents the slope. And from the other worksheet, we know the slope is the steepness, okay? So slope is how steep or how much slant it has, and the direction of, okay, direction of the line, okay? So is it a positive, negative, undefined, or zero slope, okay? The steepness, how much does it slant to the left or to the right, okay? So we can also look at that by looking at the rise over run, okay? C is the constant. And the constant is also the same as the y-intercept. So if you have the graph, okay, let's say you're looking at the graph, okay, and you're looking at the line, okay, and where the line intersects the y-axis over here, okay, let me just make a brighter color. Where it intersects the y-axis, that is your y-intercept, and the y-intercept is also the constant, okay? So if you know the different parts of the linear equation, then you will be able to solve many problems or identify what the slope is, what the constant is, or what the y-intercept is, okay? You can also identify whether or not you have a positive, negative, zero slope, or undefined slope, okay? Just by looking at the equation, okay? So let's look at a sample. Y equals 2x minus 6. What is the y-intercept? So we know the y-intercept is the constant. Let's look at our equation from the other page, okay? Y equals mx plus c. And you might say, Miss Nas, there's no constant. It says here positive c, but here it's negative c. It doesn't matter, okay? Because what is our definition of a constant? Constant is the only value without a variable, okay? And in this equation, negative 6 is the only value that does not have a variable beside it, okay? It does not have a variable next to it. So negative 6 is the constant. So the constant can either be positive or negative, as long as it does not have a variable beside it. It is the constant, okay? So what is the y-intercept? From here, we know the y-intercept is also the constant, okay? The y-intercept is also the constant. So y-intercept is negative 6, okay? What is the constant? Mrs. Nash is tricking you. Of course, the constant is the same thing, negative 6, because the y-intercept and the constant are the same. I just want you to be familiar with the terms, okay? What is the slope? Now let's look back at our equation, okay? From here, we know m is the variable that represents the slope. So there's the slope and there's the slope, okay? Because the slope is the coefficient of x. Now, see all the terms we studied in algebra, okay? So constant is the value with no variable, okay? Just as a reminder. And the slope, or m, is the coefficient of x. That means it's the value before the x variable, okay? So here our coefficient is 2. Since there's no sign, okay, since there's no sign over here, you can assume it's a positive 2. And we know when the value is positive, we do not need to put a positive sign, okay? So is the slope positive, negative, 0, or unidentified? Now look at the sign of the slope. Is it positive or negative? There's no sign, therefore we assume it's positive, okay? So this is a positive slope. And therefore, if I'm going to graph it, the slope is going to slant to the right. Okay, slant to the right. That's a positive slope. Okay, so hopefully this short tutorial will help you answer the other questions in this worksheet.